Okay, it is 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Okay. We are back to microphones tonight and no owl. So please remember as you're speaking to turn on the microphone so that people listening in can hear what everyone has to say. So, right, and we'll turn things over to Dr. Forrest for Points of Pride.
So for tonight's Points of Pride, we have staff and students from Conval High School who are going to share some points of pride. So I'm going to invite them up to the front, and the four of us are going to move out of the way, and we'll turn it over to them.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to have so many students here tonight. When the high school had the opportunity to do some points of pride, originally I was excited to share the only item that originally came to mind a few weeks ago. Oh, let's talk about the day of service. So we're really excited to talk about that. And then I was really inspired by so many creative things happening in our classrooms. So then another item came on for the Points of Pride to highlight something academically. And then, of course, there was something really exciting that happened last night. So then there's something athletically. So we kind of have a trifecta, some Points of Pride to share tonight. So the first segment, I really want to turn over to our students to talk about the Conval Day of Service. And I'm so proud of them because something that started as a pilot last spring, that went over so well, the students really advocated, and they said, you know, Mrs. McKillop, we don't want to wait till next spring to do that again. And so now we're trying to do this each semester. So I'm going to turn it over to them to talk about it.
Okay. Perfect. So we had our Conval Fall Day of Service on Thursday, October 9th, and we dedicated an afternoon for students and teachers to volunteer with nonprofit organizations and local facilities. Oh, I'm Zadie. Oh, and I live in Hancock and Francistown.
I'm Charlie, and I live in Peterborough. We had a total of 50 projects on and off campus, and we partnered with 37 nonprofits and local government organizations. We would also like to give a special thank you to Bell Tates in Peterborough for a $100 gift card donation, because they were not partnering with us actually doing a project, but they helped us out with the funding.
Hi everyone, my name is Nora Eliopoulos. I live in Wilton. My bad. But but this was our school day schedule, so we had a funky schedule this day so we could get in academic time as well as put in the project time, but also have lunch. So we feel as though it really works well for our day of service.
Okay, students had 3 service tracks that they could take. The first one was one project off campus. Then there was one long project on campus, and then they also could pick 2 for on campus as well.
So we'd like to give you a couple of examples of the projects that took place during the day. Our first couple ones is the Antrim Rec. They cleaned the department vehicles and maintenance the softball field. And then the community closet, they organized the clothes and donations for those in need.
Our next fun activity was Toys for Tots, where we supplied donation boxes with Christmas paper so they could collect toys for children during the holiday season. So So we decorated those, and we also made Christmas cards to share with nursing home residents for the holiday season.
Okay, at Temple Elementary School, high schoolers read stories and attended recess with the elementary students. And shout out to Mrs. Grassi for helping to provide books for our high school schoolers to read.
At the Dublin Consolidated School, high school students assisted in classrooms and helped with various projects outside and inside.
At Great Brook Middle School, students assisted with tasks in the office and library at the school, and a few students helped band students perform with their instruments and demonstrate to the band students.
High school students helped Hancock Elementary students prepare for the Harvest Festival. And we also wanted to note that while only a handful of our elementary schools were shown on our slideshow, we visited with all the elementaries and both middle schools in the district as part of our day of service.
We also went to the Mariposa Museum where students helped clean projects and just tidy up around the museum.
We also attended the Peterborough Fire and Police Department, where students cleaned, organized, and did CPR.
Students helped clean the library campus at the Peterborough Town Library.
At the Peterborough Players, students completed yard work and raked the leaves to help out.
At Rivermead, students played games, shared stories, and connected with residents, plus enjoyed pizza courtesy of Rivermead.
At Pheasantwood, students decorated the entrance to Pheasantwood for fall by arranging hay, making scarecrows, and carving pumpkins for the residents to enjoy.
At SMS, students volunteered by weeding and cleaning the butterfly garden.
The Interact roadside cleanup, students both in and outside of Interact Club picked up trash along the Rotary maintained highway Route 202.
On campus, students made fleece dog toys, ropes, cat toys, and stuffed cardboard rolls with hay for guinea pigs and bunnies. All items were donated to the American Rescue League of New Hampshire.
Another on-campus service opportunity we had was we made cards for elementary students as well as hospitalized kids to cheer them up while they were in the hospital.
Students built 2 more additional picnic tables for our awesome courtyard.
Many students supported the organizing and cleaning of the Lucy Herland Theater at Conval.
We did some paintings for mats. Students were able to express their creativity through 2 different projects that we did. The paintings were going to be placed in different mat shelters around our region, and then also another group helped create centerpieces for the 100 Nights shelter in Keene.
Students also did mural touch-ups on the courtyard mural, which was painted last day of service. In partnership with the Peterborough Garden Club, students planted tulips on the front apron.
The Peterborough Garden Club also donated fall mums for the planters in the courtyard, and here are some students weeding in the courtyard.
We also did no-sew blankets for Project Linus. This is a project that we also had last year. We donated over 15 fleece blankets. It's where the students will cut out the fleece and tie them to make a double-layered fleece blanket. And they go to various nonprofits that will be providing the blankets to children for Christmas.
A new project for this fall was the baking of roughly 250 cookies for students and staff to enjoy at the end of our service project on our way back to our assembly. Students were also able to grab other snacks, water, hot chocolate, and stickers. These cookies were really, really good.
Here's a photo of the buses leaving Conval on their way to the service projects, and everyone was very excited to get on their bus.
This is our day of service committee. It's us 3, as well as Miss Rushford in the back, and then Ava. She couldn't be here today. We work through multiple months, and we met in the summer to be able to make this day happen.
We are currently applying for the NASSP grant in hopes of obtaining funds for our Spring Day of Service on May 15th. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
I want to give a huge shout out to Amy Rushford. I'm sorry, Miss Rushford. I don't want to embarrass you, but if you can look at her in the back of the room. I'm sorry, Miss Rushford. If you can raise your hand. Amy has been so instrumental in helping our students really get this off the ground. She sat with them when they wrote the grant, really helped facilitate, organize. It was a monumental task every step of the way through, and has committed a lot of time outside to this. And so thank you so much on behalf of the school and our students. Thank you. All right, our next group of students want to come up. All right, as they transition up, Carol Young, who's actually right now in the library talking about the Belize trip in 2026 that happened 2 years ago, that will happen again. So that's where she is right now. In her anatomy and physiology class, they've been doing something called their histo art project for 26 years. And it's a really creative project, and I've been fortunate to kind of go each year. It's really difficult when you have to vote for the different pieces. And some of the students came down here tonight, so I want to let them speak about what kind of they did. I have lots of pieces here, their creations and others that we thought we could kind of pass around so you can see some of those artifacts. And there's a slideshow that accompanies that. So I'll let them introduce themselves and say a few things.
Hello, my name is Max. I am from Peterborough. The histo art project was definitely fun. I had adipose tissue, which is basically a fat cell, and after hearing that, I thought, what better creature than a blobfish? So I called it the adipose blob. It won the people's vote, so all the students had voted for me, and it was definitely a very, very fun project. The thing, I learned that the blobfish has a very, very unique nose as well. So yes, that was fun.
People's choice.
People's choice.
Which means all of this, most students voted for that.
Yes, yes.
Hi, my name's Aiden. I'm from Dublin. Mine was adipose tissue, and it looked like stained glass to me, so I drew it as a stained glass window kind of looking thing, and this project was really fun.
Hi, I'm Ollie. I'm from Hancock. I did my project on compact bone tissue, which is on the bones, but I thought this was a really creative project. When I signed up for anatomy, I wasn't thinking I was going to be doing art, but, you know, it was a fun thing, so I'm glad we did it.
Can you tell them what place yours came in?
Oh, yeah, I came in first, so, yeah.
First place for Andrew. So you guys want to help kind of pass some of these pieces out? So all the school board members can look at some of these. So as the students pass some of them out, just some of the history, because Miss Young isn't here, and I want to make sure that you hear it. So for 26 years, the students enrolled in her class have had the opportunity to combine science and art. The assignment asks them to create their artistic expressions based on their observations of the structure of cells and tissues that make up the human body. It's a very rigorous course. So when the quarter comes to the end, there's an opportunity for this project to come in as the students try to take a breath and kind of prepare for some of the exams that they will have. The scientific study of thin slices of tissue under the microscope to understand the composition and function of its cells gave rise to a wide range of impressionistic and abstract artworks. Students employed a diverse range of media, including pencil sketches, ink drawings, cartoon paintings, scrapbooking techniques, mixed media collages, and ceramics. Oh, we can't forget Ada Maroney's vase. I brought that very carefully here. Thank you so much. And I believe Aiden won second place. So yes, thank you. You can push that around. Students, parents, and staff members were invited into the building on October 31st and voted for their favorite pieces of artwork. So the slides behind us, you can see this is exactly what it looked like. They were all up in the divider. Room 450, Miss Young's room. It was Halloween. There was a few fun things in there as well. Sweater weather was a neat one. So many of these pieces that you're looking at are on this slideshow as well. Here you go, Max. There's your adipose blob. Very talented. Does anyone have anything else you want to share or anything else? Okay. You're coming up. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you.
I believe Max kicked the winning, or had the winning header last night in the game.
Yes, Mr. Curlin, we're getting there right now. So I also have Max up here, who wants to kind of share what's coming up. So the boys soccer team is advancing to the state championship game on Friday at Exeter High School. It is a very big deal. And yes, Max scored the game-winning goal off of his head. Yes, it was last night. Yes, it was last night. We got home quite late. And looking at everybody here, there was a handful of us here in the room. Miss Rushford was there. Some of our students here. Mr. Curlin was there. There was a bunch of people there. So please consider joining us at 7:15. Here was a few more pictures. Look at this picture of the team. And their 2-1 overtime win. This is from last night. That was Miss Rushford and I. We're so excited. And that's the front seat, 2-1 on the scoreboard? Yes. So exciting. And there was just pure joy at the end of the game. And those are some of the signs that were created by the fans. And I think Max has one other thing he wanted to say.
Hello. I have a few invitations for everybody that I have signed, and I'd like to hand them out to invite you to my game on Friday at 7:15 at Bill Ball Stadium in Exeter. I hope you guys can all make it because I know the guys would love to see everyone there cheering us on. But yes, so definitely if you can, make it. It's going to be a good game. It is quote-unquote Cougs versus Cougs because we play Campbell, and they are also the Cougars, so it should be definitely a great game. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's all right. All right, we will move down to approval of the manifests.
I certify that the manifests listed below, totaling $3,130,623.43, have been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Kentucky Valley School District for goods and/or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
I move that we approve the manifest.
Second. Okay, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we have no public here tonight, so I guess we don't have any public comment. Moving down to reports, we'll start with Curtis and Communication Committee.
Thanks. The Communications Committee met on October 23rd. That was a Thursday. Half our meeting was spent reviewing and working on the communications plan and our committee calendar. We made some good work, good progress. I hope we wrap it up at our next meeting and have it back to the board. The other half of our meeting was spent, we started out by watching ourselves back on our YouTube streams and collectively imagining how we could make the streaming of our board meetings better. So we've probably all grown pretty accustomed to the no public here to comment. We've had relatively few people participate in our meetings in person. It's understandable. People are busy and it's hard to get here on a Tuesday evening. But it doesn't mean people aren't watching and participating. Every meeting is viewed by between 150 and 300 people. And considering the size of that audience, I think we all agreed that we really need to do our best to meet them where they are and provide the best product via our stream that we can. So we've already been discussing a number of the changes that we've brought forward, like time stamping so people can easily navigate the recordings and find specific things. We're also going to be adding documents like our agenda and public board packet and anything else that might come before us that we're asking for approval so the public can have easy access to it. Tom and I did a training this morning trying to learn how to utilize the stream, and one of the things we figured out today successfully was how to do a direct feed for what is projected here in the boardroom. So the public just saw exactly the same slideshow perfectly presented to them that we did, although it's probably even clearer to them because they're not sitting so far away. We still have some things to master. The OWL had some inconsistencies. It was cutting out even when we were testing it today, so we had to go back to that camera. So we still have some work to do to get the best picture and audio. But I'm going to pass it to Tom in a minute to talk more about how we can kind of all work to keep in mind that we do have a large number of people watching and how we can, during the meeting, make things as clear as possible for them. Thankfully, his mic was off. But we also thought that it's not good enough just to make these changes if they don't, they'll be more useful if we tell people that these streams are out there and invite people to watch and participate in our process. So the committee drafted a letter that is passed around, and we would like to send this out to Conval families via a direct email and invite them to watch and subscribe to the YouTube channel so they can easily see when we have a meeting and have access to the recordings and participate. So before I pass it to Tom, if I could have a motion to approve this letter.
Second, Tom.
Okay. Everyone has had a chance to see the letter. Any questions from Curtis? For Curtis? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the letter?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Well, thanks. And now I'll pass it to Tom for some more thoughts.
So one thing that I encourage everybody to do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch yourself and listen to yourself, because we're trying to provide a really good product to our viewing audience so they can actually benefit from it. And one way we can learn how to improve our own performance is by watching how it goes. And if we're talking loud enough, close enough to the mic, which is something we learned today in practicing for the streaming, and the students did a great job of it, so I'm sure they were heard very well at home, anyone watching. But we need to also do a good job so that people can hear us. So lean forward like I'm doing, speak clearly, and then everyone at home will be able to follow along very easily. We also were thinking that some other ways we can improve what we're doing, small improvements. But one would be, we've gotten in the habit, as guilty as everyone else, is so moved when we want to make a motion. And it would be helpful, we think, for the people at home if we actually said the motion like Jim just did for this approval of this letter. So, and then the second item is strictly to benefit our hardworking Brenda, which is when you second the motion, say your name so that she knows for the accurate recording of the minutes who was the person who seconded it. And I don't know if you've had this experience where Brenda's looking up as she's keeping up with the minutes, trying to figure out who was the person who seconded the motion. So if we could all do that to help her and also to just improve our product overall. And any thoughts you have from watching yourself, please share them so that we can continue to improve what we're doing and communicate what we're up to all the people who are following us at home. Thanks.
Thanks.
Policy Committee, Janine?
Directions to heart. The Policy Committee met on Monday, October 27th, and the two big things that were discussed, the two first things first, was Policy JIC, which is Student Conduct, and Policy JICD, which is Student Behavior, Conduct, Discipline, and Due Process. There's only been a small change to JICD, and that change requires, under the 306 rules, that the policy be accessible in ADA compliant form, and the district offer a verbal option when it's needed. But it caused us to go back and look at those two policies because they are very similar, and there is still work to be done in reviewing those two policies and figuring out whether we need both of them or whether it's possible to fold one into the other. So that'll be back on our agenda. The second thing we reviewed was legislative changes from this past session to Policy JCB, which is a change of school within the Conval School District. We are going to ask that I believe on our agenda tonight, we're going to ask that we suspend this policy because we are no longer compliant. The whole policy is no longer compliant. So at this point, we would like to just follow the law as it's written, and it will go back under discussion at our next meeting. The second part of the meeting was we tested our new protocol and form in capturing everything that we need to do for a non-public session. And we tested it by opening two of our sealed minutes. I can't remember, it was November, was 10 years ago? Okay, 2011. So we will, there were two sets of minutes that was from the same night, and we will be bringing them to the board tonight in non-public session for you with advice or recommendation on whether they should be opened or resealed, and we will ask you to vote on that. And we'll use our new protocol, our new form.
Okay. Any questions for Janine? Jim?
Yeah, I know we're not there yet, but the first read policy JICD is not in the packet nor in the drive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say that we are postponing the first read. We're not asking for a first read on that tonight. We are postponing because that is another one that we discovered I think that's the second one, JIC, JICD. So we're not, we need to do more work on it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, the school budget work session that we had on Saturday. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for giving up your Saturday morning and coming in and going through the budget. I think hopefully we accomplished a lot in a very short period of time. So thank you very much. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the staff, and it's hard to really imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into preparing a budget, especially in a district like ours where there are so many different schools. It's really amazing what's done in the amount of time that we do have. And thank you to Dr. Forrest for an excellent presentation. I think people were very impressed and able to understand everything that was presented, where a lot of times we have a lot of questions because it's not real clear, but I think it was an excellent presentation. The one piece of feedback that I did get from staff was that they were a little surprised that most of the conversation was by a very few amount of people. So I encourage everyone. I know my first year as a board member, I felt that I needed to do more listening and not as much talking. But I encourage people that if they have things to say, or especially if you have questions, please don't leave without having those questions answered. So again, thank you. And so that everyone does have the chance to have their say on whatever it is that we're talking about. Also, please remember that before you speak, please make sure that the chair recognizes you so that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. So just a few comments on Saturday. Budget and property, Jim?
I would thought you were going to say more about some of the specific numbers, but budget property tonight, we talked really about two projects that are of interest to the community. One is the CTE project. We haven't given up on that because we still think there's going to be state money available. We need to determine how much money they have available, when they have it available, and what we need to submit in January to keep our place in line is the best way to say it. The other project we talked about was the possibility of building a more permanent high school concession stand. We're going to be meeting with the Booster Club, and we'll come up with an agreement with them, and hopefully we'll come up with a plan that we can afford and will provide the needs for the people that use the fields out there. And the last thing, I'm not going into details, we talked about what we need to do next in the budget. Neil will talk about a couple of those tonight, and we've got some more homework to do between now and January when we finally vote on the budget.
Okay. Any questions for Jim? Okay. Liam and Marcus.
I do have the sniffles, so in case I take a little break to sneeze or something like that, just want to let you know. But there's plenty to talk about. Lots of things have been happening in Conval. Like, for instance, recently, I believe 2 weeks ago, the school librarians booked the entirety of the senior class to a task meeting in the Lucy Hurlin Theater to follow up on the American Exchange program that they presented to us a while back. There seemed to be a lot of excitement about it. I went to a more in-depth meeting about it, and there were 16 people there, and that was one of two meetings, so there were definitely a lot more people at the other meeting as well.
Also, we had Halloween. students dressed up for Halloween, and there were a lot of amazing costumes, and it just showed a lot of school pride.
Also on Halloween, we had the blood drive. Over 40 people had signed up to donate blood. Now, some people were not there, but 26 people were able to successfully donate blood. So that's a lot being put towards good use. You know, I was a vampire for that day because it was Halloween, so that was a lot of fun.
And then we had a lot of field trips, or 2 field trips, 2 main ones. Yesterday we had a German field trip. They went to UNH and they got to kind of immerse themselves in the German Studies program there, and there was a scavenger hunt also around the campus. And then Envirothon, which is a science club, they had a field trip down to practice for their main kind of challenge later in the year. And, yes. Oh, sorry. We also had a Belize meeting today. The Belize Club has had a lot of fundraisers throughout the year, and their next fundraiser is at the Fall Craft Fair, which we will mention. It's going to be gift wrapping, so that's great.
And tomorrow, there'll be a ice cream social in task for the Conval Cougar Cares nominations. For those of you who don't know, Cougar Cares is where students and staff nominate other students who particularly demonstrate the CARES language in Conval. You know, they get a little certificate, and tomorrow there's an ice cream social. So that'll be fun for them.
We're going to be hosting a SpongeBob the Musical on Friday and Saturday. On Friday, it will only be at 6 p.m., and on Saturday, it will be at 6 p.m. and also 2 p.m.
On Thursday, we'll be having a Apply New Hampshire Day, where the school counseling department will work with seniors who are applying to colleges. All the New Hampshire colleges that day will be free to apply to, so we'll be working to apply to, well, I'm personally applying to as many as I can. And also, every single Conval student is entered into the chance to win $500, a scholarship, so one of us will be getting that. And on the 22nd, we are having the Fall Craft Fair, which Mike has previously mentioned. It's running from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You know, come down, visit all the local vendors, bring your holiday cheer. The free entry, it'll be at the Conval gym. So, you know, take a visit, get your Christmas shopping done early.
Also, for any Conval vendors that are there, it is cash only. So if you go there, bring cash.
And one quick reminder, don't forget about the soccer game at Exeter on Friday. Mrs. McKillop and Mr. Pimentel will be working for a fan bus, which I've heard a lot of people wanted. I didn't know that, but you know, I don't doubt it. So that'll be a lot of fun.
One last thing Miss Rossi wanted me to mention was that there were 3 students in her Careers in Education 2 class, and they collaborated with administration to plan and carry out a successful field trip to Windy Hill Farm in New Ipswich. The students were Michaela Lamoth, Nora Wicker, and Taylor Hilton, and they connected the trip to the education competencies, wrote permission slips, coordinated with nurses about student health concerns, arranged transportation, and organized details with Windy Hill staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please pass on to the students, they left before we could say too much, but that day of service is just incredible. The amount of different service projects that they plan and carry out on is remarkable of what they do every year. So please pass that on. Thank you. Curtis?
Thanks, fellas. I just wanted to add and help plug the musical, the SpongeBob musical, which is running this weekend, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I know that there are a bunch of elementary school students in Greenfield who are really stoked to be able to go see a preview of it in the middle of the day, I think on Thursday. So thanks.
Any questions for them? All right, thank you. All right, our consent agenda. Any questions about the things in the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
I move that we accept the consent agenda items.
Can I have a second?
Second, Tom.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, superintendent's report.
So I just noticed when Mike Hoyt pointed this out, I thought an update on the FY budget was under superintendent's report, and it's not. So I'm going to ask, and I believe it requires a board vote, but that if I could add a D so that Neil, Amy, and I can give you an update on what's happened or what we're working on since we saw you on Saturday.
Probably, as you're going through the monthly calendar, we can talk about that also, if you, or make it easier. Can I have a motion to add a section on the budget workshop?
Move to add a budget update on the agenda.
Okay.
Second, Curtis.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Monthly events, November. Tonight is the only night we have meetings this week, unless something needs to be added. Okay. Next week, we have a district PD day on Monday the 10th, so no students will be here. 11th is Veterans Day. And then on Thursday the 13th, we have a communications committee at 6, followed by a facilities committee at 7. The third week in November, on Monday the 17th, we have an education committee meeting at 6 at the SAU. On Tuesday the 18th, we have budget and property committee meeting at 5:30, followed by a school board meeting at 7. And that Thursday, the 20th, we have a Selectmen's Advisory Committee meeting at 6. And for the final week in November, we have a Policy Committee meeting on Monday, the 24th at 6. And then Thanksgiving break is that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Anything need to be added to November? Okay, so far in December, during the first week in December, on Tuesday the 2nd, we have a Budget and Property Committee meeting at 5:30 at the SAU, followed by a school board meeting. Anything else for that week?
Since there's nothing else coming for the next week, Tom, do you have an idea of when facilities meeting might coincide with communications meeting in
I
December?
was thinking the same thing, that I'd like it to coincide. So either the first or second week of December works for me personally.
The 4th would be better for me than the 11th.
Okay.
Sounds like the 4th. Anyone have a problem with the 4th for facilities? but you could attend it remotely?
Are there any time preferences, 6 or 7, for any people who can attend? Jim? Doesn't matter? Yeah. If it's the,
So maybe we should do the facilities at 6.
okay. Yeah. And I'll hold us to, you can hold me to 8.
Okay, the next meeting in December is scheduled for Monday, the 15th. That's Education Committee at 6. And that week, we also have Budget and Property on Tuesday, the 16th at 5:30, followed by a school board meeting. Anything else for that week? Okay, the week of December 22nd, that Monday, we have a Policy Committee meeting at 6. And then the district is closed for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for holiday recess. Anything else for December? Okay. It's in the board drive, is the November 1st enrollment updates. And you had asked that we track the differences month to month, which we have been doing. I just wanted to clarify, when you look at the November enrollment, it is compared to the official beginning of year October 1st enrollment that we submitted to the state. So you received at the first October meeting our October 1st enrollment numbers. In your budget binders, we updated those to match the official numbers that we submitted to the state, because when you do that, the state will send back that we have anomalies and we find things get flagged. So that's a more accurate number. And so the November numbers are compared to the BOY numbers that you received in your binder. Does that make sense? Somewhat. Reimbursement of legal fees. So as you know, and you've probably seen in the paper, that we were awarded full reimbursement for the legal fees that we paid out over the 8 years we've been involved in the legal case against the state. So Neil is going to share some information about.
At this point in time, Neil's going to let us know what the options are as far as those legal fees are concerned, so that the board then has some time to think about those options before we actually have to make a decision on them. So, all right, Neil?
These are being broadcast. I'm going to have to make my presentations up more accessible. Are we ready? All right. So, as you are aware, we have received the reimbursement of legal fees for the Conval suit, $666,227.90 has been received. It's currently in our account, and it is considered unanticipated revenue. And unanticipated revenue is just that, unanticipated, something that we didn't plan on, and it's outlined in New Hampshire RSA 198:20B as to what we can do. So the voters of the district have given authority to the school board to apply for, accept, and expend without further action by the school district unanticipated money from a state, federal, or other governmental unit or a private source which becomes available during the fiscal year. Such money can only be used for legal purposes, surprise, surprise, for which a school district may appropriate money. I always think it's funny when they say that. You cannot expend it on illegal things, or things that a district's not allowed to spend money on. An amount of $20,000 or more requires a public hearing. So, action under this section you can't expend these funds on something that will cause the district to expend additional money on something that wasn't already approved in the budget. And this unanticipated money is also exempt from RSA 32. I just mentioned that we don't have a budget committee, but it wouldn't be limited by the budget committee limits, or if there were a tax cap, it would not be limited by that. So there are two options for attorney fee return. The first is to expend on any legal purpose after a public hearing. The second is if you basically do nothing and leave the funds to lapse into the unreserved fund balance, which would be in effect on June 30th, 2026. Once, just as a reminder, we've went through this year as we looked at our unreserved fund balance. It can be used as part of the year-end retainage, which is funds that the school board retains. It could be used as if you let it lapse into the fund balance and you had put a warrant article on the March warrant to put money into trust funds. It could be used that way. It would be part of the fund balance. There isn't a direct correlation, but you're taking this unanticipated money, it goes to fund balance, and then you're taking fund balance money and putting it into trust funds. Or it could be used to offset taxes. And those are basically the things, and that's, in a nutshell, what you can do with those funds.
Questions? Jim?
So of those last two options, they're not mutually exclusive.
They are not. You could do...
So I can say I'm going to spend $20,000 on X, and then the other $647,000 would be available for return.
Nothing obligates you to spend all the money on any one of those things that could be used in any of those ways.
So it can be partial one thing and partial another.
Correct.
Okay. Other questions? Jim?
I think it's going to be important for everybody to understand the big picture in terms of the budget we're putting together right now for next year, that we look at how much we're going to have, how much we're going to estimate we're going to have returned to the voters for December 26 tax bills. So just keep that in mind, that we can't really make any decision until we understand what we're going to place in front of the voters in March.
Okay. Other questions? Yes, Curtis?
Just like to make a comment that those funds are generating interest for us in while we have them. Thanks.
Okay. And just so to clarify, because I know this it gets somewhat confusing for people, when we say return the money to taxpayers, it's not a situation where, you know, we have this big bunch of money that we then hand over to any local government. When we say return to taxpayers, what happens is that that money gets through our formula gets decided by the state that how that money is going to be affecting their tax rate for the following year. Okay, so it's not a situation where we say we're going to return money to the taxpayers, that we just make out 9 checks and send one to each of the towns. You know, that's the way that the money is returned as the states, the DRA sets the tax rate for the following year. Okay.
So what you're saying is that the money is applied to, it's apportioned according to
The
our-
apportionment
our
formula, yes.
formula, that money is applied to each town's tax bill to Conval and reduces the amount of taxes that need to be collected for that year for each town.
Right.
So it effectively reduces the tax rate for the towns.
Correct. So it's not a direct, here's the money. It affects the tax rate that's set by DRA. Jim?
From a purely accounting point of view, that money is treated as income for the following year. Is the way it shows up in the books.
Okay.
Which, if you get more income, you get less you have to collect from taxes, is the way it works.
Anything else? Okay, so that's what we need to be thinking about is which of those options, all or partial, that we're going to decide on. Okay, back to Dr. Forrest.
Okay, budget update. I'm going to let Neil start.
In front of you, you have two updated sheets for your notebooks. The first is the 2026-2027 proposed budget by object code. That has been updated. And the other is the revenue page, which also has been updated. So on the budget, the expense side, we have, as you voted, added in the justifications, the technology integration specialists, the 2 RTI paras, the SMS counselor space, and the NEAS coordinator stipends. The phone system actually was already in the budget before, so that's been taken out. So that the phone system justification is not in the budget, but that was an adjustment from then. The other thing that's been done that's included in these numbers are some cleanup items and adjustments, correcting some of the salaries, taking out some duplicate items that were in there, adding a para that was left out, and we removed a salary that was in there twice. There's about just over 2,000 accounts, so almost every time we keep getting this a little closer, and I think we're really there now. So this leaves an operating budget of $61,180,563, which is a 2.18% increase over the budget adopted last year. On the revenue side, you asked that we add in the $500,000 to be returned as part of surplus, and other than also updating the proposed expenses, there were no other changes on that.
If I can add, the additions or the justifications that Neil talked about total $262,000. We've asked Ann and Neil and the staff to consider additional reductions to the budget to get us back to the original number we saw on Saturday. And we think there's ways of doing that. We're not going to go into it right now, but we think there's ways of doing that. So the idea is we would like to come back to the original number that Ann laid on the table if any way possible.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. So I prepared a statement just because the Saturday workshop was not televised. I just want to give a quick recap. So this past Saturday, administration presented the initial version of the proposed budget for the 2026-2027 school year. The presentation provided a comprehensive financial overview and a comparative analysis of the proposed budget against this year's budget, which the voters approved in March. During the presentation, we outlined the primary factors contributing to increases and decreases within all the major budget categories of salaries, benefits, purchase services, property services, and supplies and materials. These adjustments resulted in a preliminary proposed budget representing a 1.74% increase over the current year's budget, remaining below the 2.75% target that the board gave us in their written guidance. Administration also presented some recommended additions, which Neil referenced, and he just explained that the ones that were voted on by the board have been incorporated, and now the proposed budget is a 2.18% increase over this year's approved budget, which is still below that initial 2.75 guidance from the board. So what I really want to clarify is administration remains committed to continuing to scour through this budget and to identify any potential efficiencies and ensure that we are bringing forward the most responsible use of district resources. Our objective has remained consistent since we started, and that's to deliver a fiscally responsible budget that also sustains high quality educational programming and experiences for our students. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy because she's going to share some information about curriculum priorities that have been built into the budget or we're using grant funds for, just to give you that slice. Oh. Then I can get it up on, yes. Sorry. Can you start talking while I...
Yes. Okay. Hi, everybody. Just want to say real quick, if you guys watch this tonight, can anyone just give me feedback on if you think the yellow is too much? Just let me know. Like, you don't have to tell me right now, but, you know, when you watch it, just let me know. But anyway, so I obviously, you know, have been talking to people, going out into the schools, meeting with the SAU administrators, and talking with Anne, and I have, in consultation with Anne, put together some curriculum priorities that I am hoping can be up and running for the 26-27 school year. So my presentation is a little more snazzy than Neil's, but not that much, Neil. So I can help you out. So, oh, sorry. All right. So 26-27 curriculum priorities, and just so you know, too. This really has come about in all of the conversations that I've had with people about the amazing work that's been done here and moving it forward in the spirit of continuous improvement. Okay, so purpose is to present curriculum priorities, and I'm going to also talk about budget allocations. So the purpose is instructional improvement, and there is a focus on alignment. So that's really a big focus, is to align our curricular strategies with all of the schools. Professional learning is a big focus. Innovation through technology, and compliance and staff support. And by that, I mean like the mandated training. So every year the state keeps giving us more and more mandated trainings, and it's becoming quite challenging to meet all of those requirements. So Vector is a program, compliance and professional learning. It is a mandated training and PD resource library. So this is a program that can offer all of the mandated training for staff, and they can do it on their own time. So they can do it during their planning time. They can have a little bit of time during PD days to do it. They could do it over the summer if they wanted to. It's really individualized learning for them. And we could offer it in July, give them until November to get it done. This is going to free up our PD days so that we can really designate those PD days for the professional development for our teachers. The cost of Vector is $8,200, and I am looking at paying for that through a Title II grant, so not a direct cost to the operating budget. Also, when we did the presentation with Vector, with the vendor, they talked about professional development for our paraeducators. So that is really going to affect our special education students, because training the paraeducators, we have a lot of them, and it's quite a challenge. And this could really offer some targeted behavioral training for our paraeducators, which would be great. A mentoring program. So today I was looking through some of the state information, and I was looking, and we have a lot of experienced teachers here in Conval, which tells us that this is a great district and people like to work here. And I want to capitalize on that experience that we have and create a mentoring program, a formal mentoring program. We have one right now, but I want to formalize it so that we are paying people. And there's documentation of the meetings. They're meeting every month. There's a schedule. There's training, so that we can increase teacher retention and that we can really support our new teachers. And we can support them with curriculum work. We can support them with the technology, because it's very challenging to do that. And if we have a mentoring program, that's going to offer some support that our teachers really need. And again, I'm looking to pay for this through Title II, so this is not a direct impact to the budget. So you know that we have our new math program, K-6, and we're actually going to be doing a presentation for the next Ed Committee meeting, so you'll hear more about that. The cost for those materials, $33,000, and that is through the school budget. That's already been budgeted for. That's in the budget, but those are the materials. We will need those materials to continue with that program. And some outcomes are strengthened math coherence and alignment, data-driven instruction, thinking classrooms. You're going to hear more about that at the next Ed Committee meeting, and differentiated resources. You know that we're going to be adopting a literacy program that is aligned with the science of reading, and we are going to be coming to you, the Ed Committee is going to be coming to you with a recommendation later on this year. The cost of that it's going to be around $100,000. A lot of that is a one-time cost. That money is already in the budget, so it's not above and beyond. It's already there for materials. We know that we need money for curriculum materials. I'm working with Jess to make it cost effective, and a lot of that's going to be a one-time cost, but this is really going to be great for our students and for our staff. The staff are excited about this. You've heard me talk about the AI platform. This is going to streamline lesson planning, support differentiation, secure education-specific AI platform, and support ethical and responsible use of AI tools. So I am also hoping for grant funding to fund this. The platform is going to be about $9,000. There's also going to be some training, which I can get through Title II, so this will not be another cost to the budget. I'm hoping to get grant funding. But this is going to be a game changer for students and engagement, differentiated instruction, and I'm really excited about this work. So this is something that you haven't heard me talk about. Ann and I have been talking about this. The feedback that I'm getting from the teachers regarding the math program is that they need more coaching, they need more PD, they need more collaboration time, they need help with Link It, which is a data analysis program where they can see all of the data. And so I am going to write into the Title IIA grant to have support for the teachers so that we can continue with the implementation of the new math program, because we are gaining momentum with it, but they need coaching. I was thinking about putting in another position, but I know that we need to keep the budget down, so I am trying to be creative and get the teachers the coaching they need through grant funding. This is just a chart that kind of goes over all the different priorities: vector solutions, mentoring program, illustrative math, literacy program, Magic School AI, Title IIA consultant. As you can see, the majority of the items are going to be paid for through grant funding, so it won't be a direct impact to the budget, with the exception of the literacy program, but a lot of that is going to be a one-time cost. The key takeaways. The majority of the priorities are funded through grants, as I said. These priorities focus on instructional improvement and alignment, fiscal responsibility through strategic investments. Some of the vector solutions, for example, moving to that is going to reduce costs in other areas. We spend a lot of money providing professional development. We bring in attorneys to do things. We have people getting mileage, driving all over the place to do some in-person professional developments and mandated trainings. Moving to vector solution is going to reduce some other areas of the budget over time. And these priorities represent a strategic investment in instructional excellence, professional capacity. It's about building capacity, and equitable opportunities for all students. That alignment piece is really important. When you're talking about equity, we want to make sure that all of our teachers have the strategies down, have the resources they need, know how to use all the resources so that all students can benefit from the work that we're doing. And that is the end of my presentation.
Questions? Janine?
So, like, back a couple slides for the math, you were asking for coaching and consultation. There was money for
Yes.
that. How does that happen? I mean, are you going to
Yep.
look for tutors or?
So we have somebody in the district who's going to be retiring, who's doing that work, and I have said to Anne, can we keep her, because the work, we need to keep her to continue with this work until we can transition it to somebody else or until the teachers feel more comfortable. But right now, we need to just continue to give the teachers the support that they need, especially because we're going to be implementing a new literacy curriculum next year, and that's a lot for them. And then with the AI piece, which the AI piece isn't, we're not forcing that on anybody. That's really, we're going to do that slow, and it's going to be people who, are pioneers who really want to do that. It's going to be those people first. But it's a lot, so we just want to make sure that the teachers have the support they need.
Curtis?
Thanks for the presentation. The question on the mentoring program. What's
Yes.
your target for how many mentors you're looking to build this up to? And then apologies if I missed it, but is this across all grades?
Yes.
Okay.
The goal, and I'm working with Michael on this, is to provide a mentoring service to all new staff, or at least in the staff in the first 3 years. So that's what we're looking to do. Michael has gotten some mentoring programs from other districts because other districts have them, and so we're looking at those and kind of taking different pieces from those. And that's something also I would like to present to the Ed Committee at some point later this year, to just take a look at that. But kind of what the hope is, and we're still working on it, would be to train our experienced teachers so they have a specific understanding of what they need to do to be a mentor and provide that training, and then have a structure where we pair them with somebody. Ideally, it would be in the same school. We know that's not always going to happen, so it might be in a different school. Ideally, it would be elementary, special ed, but we know that always doesn't happen, so we'll do our best to pair people. And then we'll have a structured schedule of meetings, documentation that they met, and then we have specific things that they need to meet about the different policies, the different procedures, the different technology, the assessment schedule. That's something. For special education, it's going to be about IEPs and different special ed procedures and things like that. So we'll have very clear documentation regarding what they need to meet about. So we're putting that together. It's still in the works.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
But I just kind of want to know your vision with the AI thing. Like, how are you seeing it in classes and teaching?
Yep, that's a great question. You guys always ask such great questions. So, as I said, we're taking it slow. So right now, the focus of AI is really on our teachers, because we have to build capacity with our teachers and get our teachers feeling comfortable with some of the different tools, and we have to talk about parameters. So the focus is really going to be on teachers, and then we're going to talk about students. But it is a focus, and we do need to do it, especially at the high school, because we know that you guys are already probably using AI for some things, and you guys, we know that it's already out there. So we're looking at a platform, and you can look it up if you want to look into it. It's called Magic School AI. It's a platform that a lot of school districts use, and also Conmigo is another program that we're looking at. So those programs, and I can just give you, to answer your question, Conmigo is a program that students can use, and say they are in an algebra class and they're doing their homework and they can't answer a question. You can use it as a prompt. It's not going to give you the answer, but you can say like, hey, I can't figure out this. How do I do this? And it's going to prompt you so that it's going to ask you, okay, well, have you thought about this for the first step? Oh, okay. Well, then what's next? Well, what? And it can kind of prompt you to help you. It's kind of like an individualized tutor. So that's one way that we're going to use it, but there's lots of different ways.
So is that kind of like is that a paid subscription?
Conmigo is free. Magic School AI is a paid subscription. Yes, there are some free tools. Notebook LM is free. There are some free tools. Conmigo, I think, is free. Magic School AI, and that was in my presentation, it's about $9,000 for the district for the whole year. And I'm going to, hopefully, been working on it, get that funded through a grant. You're welcome.
Yes, Tom?
Sorry if I missed this, but the mentoring, is that something that's going to be offered to the new teachers, or is that something that they're expected to participate in?
Do you want to answer that? I'm
Well,
not sure.
Right now, it is happening. So when a new staff member is partnered up with a teacher in the district, and they are expected to meet monthly, and they do have a list of things to cover. But in some buildings, it's really stretching the capacity to ask people to take that on, especially if you're in a small building where they just keep, their plate keeps getting added to. And we'd also like to, I think what Amy's proposing in my mind is just to get that more structured, tap into our most experienced teachers who are going to be the best mentors for our new teachers, pay them for the time that they're going to invest, and encourage that, because it's a lot. Even with our new hire, that focuses on PD, but it's the for our new teachers, it's the everyday, like, how do you do report cards here? How do you do conferences? How do you get on to Power School? And it's challenging, especially if you're in a school. I mean, if I think about Francistown, everybody in that building, except for 2 people, are brand new to that building. So learning all these kind of the nitty gritty, as well as the educational practice. So I think just to strength, kind of take what we have, but
Yes. And that's kind of,
infuse it and make it so much stronger.
and that's what I said in the beginning. It's kind of taking the work that's already been done and kind of just, continuous improvement and just taking it one step.
And one other question, what's the grant environment like nowadays? Is it becoming more challenging? Are these more difficult to win?
So the grants, the money is there. It depends on me and my writing abilities and how I can write them so that they get approved. So that's really, the money is there. I just have to work with the state and work with my assistant and, just try to get it so that they approve it. They have very specific kind of criteria about how you can apply for things. I did just attend a conference, and they were very clear with us that mentoring is something that will get approved. They encourage us to do, and it's how, I started thinking about it because I went to that conference and they said, mentoring is something you should be doing and you should be writing that into the grant. And then I've already talked to one of the state consultants about the AI and writing that into the grant, so I'm already working with him on that. And I know that, I'm fairly confident that the coaching will get approved because we've been doing that. So I'm fairly confident that all of these things will be approved.
And we have a couple different types of grants as far as, we have both entitlement grants where we get a certain amount of money in a certain category, and then we have to decide what programs we want in those entitlement grants for that money to be applied for. And then other grants are competitive grants where you're not guaranteed anything, and you have to write a really good grant and get it approved. Especially there are certain categories that are more apt to get you approved in those competitive grants than others. So, other questions? Yes.
Just one quick question. You might have talked about it and I missed it. At what point does the tutoring come to an end for the teachers? Is it after they feel comfortable enough with the new workplace environment? Is it after will it be after a set amount of time?
So that's a good question, and we haven't figured all of that out yet. What I know is that I believe the district currently right now provides support for teachers in years 1 through 3. Is that correct? Yes. So I'm thinking we would continue with that in years 1 through 3. We would have a mentor, but that hasn't been written in stone yet. Because it also is going to come down to funds and looking at how many new staff we have and that kind of thing as well. So,
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
On to new business. First thing in new business is that we've been informed by the State Board of Education that on November 13th, they will be meeting and reviewing the withdrawal reports that were put in by our withdrawal committee and a report that was put in by Francistown as a minority report. And so the chairman, who was Curtis, is asked to go to that and to be able to answer questions if they have questions about any of the things that happened during that withdrawal committee hearings and things. But we also need to authorize our legal counsel, Dean Eckert, to go and represent our board. So I need a motion to allow that to happen.
We'll move to authorize district legal counsel to represent the majority recommendations and the school board at the State Board of Education hearing on the 13th.
Second, Janine?
Okay. Any questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So the first read policies, the first one, we're not going to,
Right. We're going to postpone that read because it's still under review.
okay. Yes.
I wanted to add on the State Board hearing that the State Board of Education is better late than never to streaming their meetings, and they've begun doing that recently, so you can find them on YouTube and watch the meeting as well. And if we can pick up any tips from how they do it, please. Thanks. The 13th.
Do you, I don't have the time with me. Do you have that? No. We'll get the time out to people. So. It's 9:30. Okay. The suspended policy, you wish to say any more about that?
Yeah, if we could entertain a motion to suspend the policy, because we are out of compliance and we need to review that policy, but in the meantime, we would like to just simply comply with the law.
Okay. Can I have a motion to do that?
I move to suspend policy JCB.
Okay. Second?
Second, Curtis.
Okay. Any further questions for Janine? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Transportation contract. Neil?
A little more fancy. Just while I was sitting here. So, as you all know, we put out the transportation RFP, which was due back Thursday, October 23rd. It was posted on the website. It was sent directly to 3 different companies. We actually had clarifying questions asked by all 3 of those companies, and then we received only one submission from Student Transportation of America, which is our current provider. So, brief overview of the submission. So this compares our current contract, the 2025-2026 year, with the bid submission. As you can see, if you look at the total is actually down, but that's a little deceiving in that the original contract contained a use of 35 daily buses, and we're actually at 23 now. If you look at the annual rate per bus, the change is $15,000, $15,581, which is 22.5%. So it is a fairly substantial increase. What's sort of helping to make that increase is a proposed change in drivers' pay. Moving from a starting rate of $26 to $31, and then also increasing throughout the year, and then with an annual 3% increase. It's been a number of years since all those positions have been filled, and we've been short on drivers. It also includes driver benefits of 3 paid holidays, additional days for drivers with over 10 years of service, safety and attendance bonuses, and longevity bonuses. We contract for this service, so all the employee-type relations and benefits and pay are all done by the contractor. Late bus had always been included before. All 3 companies asked if they could separate that, so I think that's probably fairly standard. So this would be $90.35 per run. We have 5 runs for most of the 180 days.
So is this calculated into that bid, or is this above
It is
and beyond?
not. This is a separate amount, which is about $81,000.
Okay. And was it in the original last year's
It
bid?
was. It was. So that is
it's not apples to apples.
This is an additional charge now. Correct.
Okay.
Minivan rates also going up. They do provide a number of minivans at this point. One of the hopes is that we can work with, if this contract goes forward, work with STA that much more to provide more special ed transportation. We have, because of the pay that is offered currently, we've lost at least 2 drivers this year to special ed transportation providers who are providing other services, because they can charge largely whatever they want and can pay more, so that's pulling people away. But if we could negotiate more and use them more, it would be a savings in at least this area. This is the change in the field trip rate. The per mile actually drops, but the continuous time, which also reflects the pay to drivers, increases substantially, 145%. Summer routes also up that same 22.5%. The bus depot would remain where it is at 364 Hancock Road here in Peterborough. And in the pricing is included a full-time manager on site. Currently, Diane Mitchell is the interim manager. Stacy Emerson is the area manager that we deal with. She covers Vermont and New Hampshire. A full-time dispatcher, a full-time safety trainer, and 2 full-time maintenance technicians, basically what we have now. They do have a recruitment person who doesn't work full-time, wouldn't work full-time for just this, but would continue to attend school functions, to recruit, PTO events, sporting events, and any other opportunities out there. The bus fleet, most of our buses now are 2015 or 2016 buses. The RFP requires them not to be more than 8 years old. Current contract states that no bus is older than 2015 unless they're approved by the school district. And the submission states that nearly the entire fleet currently in operation would be replaced for the 26-27 school year. Additional items will work to provide more special ed. Included in our RFP was route optimization software. Our information is partially in there, could be fully put in there. This is what would be used also to review single-tier busing. The cost for single-tier busing was submitted as the same as the per-day bus. It's just without sort of doing this analysis, we wouldn't know how many buses we would need. If we would need more, probably. So at this point, the option is to accept the proposal. All the requirements that are in the RFP are part of that proposal and would have to be honored. The other option you have is to reject the proposal, and there's always the option of putting out another RFP. It's unlikely we would receive additional, in my opinion, submissions. We're also timing-wise, we sort of followed the correct timing to get this one done. Or if you rejected, we could try to negotiate a contract directly. And that is it.
Mike? Neil, have you contacted the companies that did not submit and asked why?
I have not yet.
Okay. Jim?
Neil, on one of your earlier first charts, it showed the reduction in number of buses. Does that mean longer routes? How are they reducing the number of buses by a third?
That reflects what we're currently doing. That doesn't change that's based on the number of the routes we are currently
Can you go back to
running,
that chart then?
as opposed to what was bid on last time, which is in our contract.
I misunderstood the chart then.
That one. So when the contract was done 5 years ago, it was thought that there would be 35 routes. Currently, we run 23 routes.
Okay.
I just included that so you could compare that difference.
So what are we currently paying for? 23 routes or 35?
We pay for only the routes that are run, which is the 23. So we're paying for that. And what's included in the budget is an estimate based on the proposal that was submitted. So the numbers to pay for this contract are already in the current budget proposal.
Okay. Curtis?
Thanks. Thanks for putting this together, Neil. I'm going to momentarily shout into the wind in frustration. Transportation is one of those costs that continues to go up at a compound annual growth rate of over 10% over the past 5 years, and it is largely beyond our control, and it's really frustrating to get one RFP back. Having said that, uselessly, the 23 routes we have currently, what's the time frame moving forward over which we can work with them to use the software and to establish if there is any better way to run our routes? Do you have a sense of the likelihood of there being fruit in that endeavor, or?
I cannot imagine that there wouldn't be. And I think we can implement that. Is that a fair statement?
I hope.
And I think we can start implementing that right away. In talking to them, that they sort of have been hesitant because of being at the end of the contract and not knowing. But if we're moving forward, then we would start implementing that immediately.
What would be the timetable for us to definitely have a decision on what we?
So in order to order buses and things, we really need this by your next meeting. Also, there's a 45, the price is good for 45 days from the October 23rd, so.
Okay, so if you were to reach out to those other companies and somehow one of them decided to change their mind.
Well, it's hard because we did a bid process, so
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to
Do that, okay.
You almost have to
Yeah.
re-bid it.
So
We're
we
sort of walking on thin ice if
So,
we go too far down.
so our choice right now is to accept the contract or redo the whole system.
I think it's fair to ask them, without saying you're going to rebid it or anything else, what caused you not to submit a bid? Right, I mean, you can go that far. I'd like that information, and I'd like an apples to apples, you know, if you look at 23 routes that we're paying for, 25, 26, and then we have the 26, 27, plus the late runs and all of that. How do those two numbers compare to one another? What am I looking at growth year on year?
Okay, Janine?
I'm trying to understand how single tier would work. And I kind of feel like it's just hanging out there with nobody really paying too much attention to it. So would and from the way they structured their proposal, it seems like they are thinking that you would need the same 23 buses? Or did you say something like it would require more buses?
Based on the questions I had from all three companies, unless there's a full route analysis, they would go on the assumption we would have to double our buses.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But once you ran it through the software, you may find out something very different. Now, what would happen if we go here and accepted the contract, then they would work with us to analyze that, and we can have much more information using the software to determine how many buses would truly be needed to do single tier.
Okay, there's also decisions that have to be made about that too, which I imagine would be part of the structuring, but I just don't want it to get lost in the mix.
Right. And we knew when we did the RFP, we really did not have good information on that. We were hoping maybe we would gain some information, but all three companies were kind of the same. They could only make the assumption we would double the number of buses required.
Well, that's interesting because, I mean, that was the assumption that they made when we had our regular contract. And we said, well, what if we went to single tier? Then that was the model they used. They would double the number of buses. But we're saying one route, K-12 on a bus. Like, why would that, anyway, okay.
Once the analysis was done, you would know if you could fit K-12 on the one bus that's running, that wouldn't be any more buses. But if those buses are already at or near capacity, you would have to.
And it would change the routes because you might where now the kids in one grade level are in a certain area. If you're doing K to 12, they could be spread all over creation, and that would change how things are done. So, Jim?
Are there any vendors that offer services, do that analysis we could hire? Give the bus routes and have them do the third-party software analysis?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, Tom?
Do we have to guarantee them a certain number of routes? Because that's quite a drop from 35 to 23.
In the RFP, in the current contract, and in any future contracts, but in the RFP, we get to determine ultimately the number of routes. So if we only need 10 routes, that we would only pay for 10.
Great. Just some back of the envelope math, it looks like transportation is 3 1/3 to 3.5% of our budget.
Which includes special ed transportation and regular transportation and field trip and athletic transportation. All of that is part of that, just to be clear.
And I think, the key is one of the keys, as he said, is that anytime you contract out a service, you end up paying a great amount more. So if we can try to get our special ed transportation solidified with the company that we're dealing with, or I know that both Deb and Neil have talked about, trying to see what other districts are doing and looking at a shared situation, that we can try to drop that total amount down some. So, all right, what is preference of people? Oh, Curtis.
Thanks. One more question, and I asked this of you I think earlier in the week, but this contract would allow us the option to shift into a single-tier structure should we find it attainable in mid-contract. So it would permit us to do the research, find out if this is something the community wanted and supported, and then move into it, right?
Absolutely, and they would work with us in doing that. And I think as a partner, whatever company we have, we go this way, it would be a collaboration to determine that.
Okay. Preference for people. Okay. All right.
So just
a thumbs up to people. All those want to get those answered and then put it on the agenda for next. Okay.
So the
All right.
two questions, just so
Yep.
I'm clear, so I answer them. What caused the other bidders not to submit, as well as a comparison that's a clear apples to apples comparison, clearer.
Yeah, because if the thing that caused the other bidders not to submit is something inconsequential or something that we could waive, that might cause me to put out another RFP, right?
Okay. All right. No public comment because no public. So we'll go down to non-public session.
I move to enter non-public under RSA 91A32M.
All right. We actually are starting a new procedure tonight. Sorry. And so Janine?
I move that we enter non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses M, for consideration of whether to disclose minutes of non-public sessions due to a change in circumstances.
Okay. Second?
Second, Curtis.
Okay. Roll call vote. We now have Brenda? Wait a minute. Yeah. We're all set? Then shut it down. Okay. All right. Brenda? Yes.
Curtis, yes.
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 Yay?